Each spring, many birders in the eastern United States look forward to the arrival of the colorful wood warblers in the family Parulidae. Depending on where you live, some warblers you see during the spring will be passage migrants, which means they're passing through on their way to their breeding grounds farther north. Other warblers might breed in your area, which means your area will be the final stop on their migration. Some species might have populations of both passage migrants who continue farther north and birds who remain in your area to breed. Identifying adult male warblers in breeding plumage is not difficult. Most have distinctive plumage and are relatively easy to tell apart if you see them well. Unfortunately, not all warblers in the spring are adult males in breeding plumage, and you'll often have trouble seeing them well as they forage in foliage, sometimes high in a tree. Here is a male Cape May warbler in bright breeding plumage. Here is a female Cape May warbler whose plumage is not nearly as bright. Female warblers usually have duller plumage. They've evolved not to be as noticeable to predators when sitting on a nest. Many males molt out of their showy feathers after the breeding season when they don't have to attract females or drive away potential rivals in their territory. Here are two fall male Cape May warblers. Fall warblers can show a lot of variation. Some species look the same as in the spring, some look very different, some display remnants of their breeding plumage. Migrating male warblers in the spring usually arrive before females, so they can reach their breeding grounds and establish territories. The females generally follow a week or two later. As the season progresses, the male-female ratio of many passage migrant warblers often flips, with more males and fewer females near the beginning of the migration period, and more females and fewer males at the end. When trying to identify warblers, you should ask a series of questions. The most basic question is whether the bird you are viewing is a warbler. Many warblers have unmistakable plumage, but some can be confused with other songbirds. Some warblers are small and greenish and can resemble vireos, who are in the same size range. Vireos, such as the Philadelphia vireo on the left, generally have slightly thicker bills than warblers, such as the Tennessee warbler on the right. Kinglets, such as the ruby-crowned kinglet on the left, are smaller, have smaller bills, and forage more actively than warblers, such as the orange-crowned warbler on the right. Warblers such as the ovenbird and northern water thrush on the top row have some similar field marks to the fox sparrow and Swainson's thrush on the bottom row, but warblers are shaped differently and behave differently than sparrows and thrushes. The male American goldfinch on the left has a few field marks in common with some warbler species, such as the Wilson's warbler on the right, but finches have a larger and thicker bill and a different body type than warblers. Size is important both in telling warblers from birds in other families and in distinguishing between different species of warblers. The size of a bird is measured from the tip of the bill to the tip of the tail, so bill length and tail length will influence the size of a bird. A chestnut-sided warbler can be as small as 4.5 inches, while a bay-breasted warbler can be as large as 6 inches. These sizes are near the two extremes for warblers. While the 1.5-inch size range might not sound like a lot, a 6-inch warbler is a third longer than a 4.5-inch warbler. It is important to know if a warbler species is sexually dimorphic, which means that the females and males have different plumage. In some instances, the plumage differences are pronounced, such as with these female and male black-throated blue warblers, or these female and male blackpoll warblers. For other species, the males and females look the same, such as with the worm-eating warbler, ovenbird, and the two water thrushes. Because birds can see light in the UV spectrum, a species whose male and female appear to have similar plumage to human eyes might look different to a bird's eyes. The females of many warbler species look like a somewhat duller version of the male, such as with these male and female prothonotary warblers. For some species, second-year males can appear to have intermediate plumage between an adult male and an adult female. This second-year male American redstart on the left resembles the female on the right, but has patches of black plumage that will be further developed when it molts into full adult plumage. Color can be important. A warbler with some yellow feathers could be any one of many different warbler species. If the warbler has feathers that appear to be black or blue, the number of possible warbler species will be greatly reduced. The head of a warbler can provide clues. You should notice if the head has any markings. Does the head have stripes, as on a worm-eating warbler? If the warbler has a cap, does it stop before it reaches the bill, as on a male Wilson's warbler? Or does the cap extend all the way to the bill, as on a palm warbler? Does the warbler have a hood, like a male hooded warbler? Does the warbler have an unmarked head, like a prothonotary warbler? Does the warbler have a stripe over the eye, like a male prairie warbler? Does the stripe over the eye turn down at the end, as on a northern water thrush? Or does the stripe turn up at the end, as on a Louisiana water thrush? Is there a line through the eye, as on a blue-winged warbler? The lores are the area on the face between the bill and the eye. Note whether the lores are a different color than the eye line, such as on this yellow-throated warbler. Does the dark eye stand out on the face, as on a male yellow warbler? Or does the eye blend in with the feathering on the face, as on a male black-throated blue warbler? Does the warbler have a cheek patch that includes the eye, such as on a male golden-winged warbler? Does the warbler have a mask that includes the eye, such as a male common yellowthroat? Does the warbler have a complete eye ring, such as on this Nashville warbler? Or does the warbler have a partial eye ring or eye crescents, as on a northern parula? Does the male appear to be wearing spectacles, such as this male Kentucky warbler? The male Kentucky warbler also looks as if he is wearing runny mascara, like a character in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. What color is the throat? Is it dark brown, as on a male bay-breasted warbler? Or is the throat buffy, as on a female bay-breasted warbler? Is the throat glare orange, as on a male Blackburnian warbler? Or is it more the color of orange juice, as on a female Blackburnian warbler? Is the throat the same color as the belly, as on a Wilson's warbler? Or is it a different color, as on a yellow-throated warbler? Are there markings on the breast, such as the black band on a male mourning warbler? Does the warbler appear to be wearing a heavy puka shell necklace, like a male Canada warbler? Or is there a thinner necklace, as on a male cerulean warbler? What color are the underparts? Are they buffy, such as on a worm-eating warbler? Are they yellow, as on a blue-winged warbler? Are there streaks on the breast, like the red streaks on a male yellow warbler? Are the flanks marked with a solid color, such as on a chestnut-sided warbler? Are the flanks streaked, as on a magnolia or a Cape May warbler? The scientific species name of the Cape May warbler is tigrina because of the tiger stripes on the side. These tiger stripes can be a helpful field mark when trying to identify a female Cape May warbler. Are there marks on the back of the warbler, such as the red feathers on a male prairie warbler, or the olive feathers on the back of a northern parula, or the yellowish feathers on the back of a chestnut-sided warbler? Does the warbler have wing bars? Wing bars are the tips of wing feathers that form a bar or two bars when the wing is folded, such as on this pine warbler. Many warblers have these tips to their wing feathers, such as the northern parula on the left. Others do not, such as the Canada warbler on the right. What color are the wing bars? Are they white, as on a female bay-breasted warbler? Or are the wing bars yellow, as on a male yellow warbler? How many wing bars are there? Are there two, as on a male cerulean warbler? Sometimes the wing bars can be so heavy that they merge into each other, as on a male magnolia warbler. Wing bars can differ on male and female warblers of the same species, such as what appears to be one heavy wing bar on a male Blackburnian warbler, and the two thinner wing bars on a female Blackburnian. The edges on the wings of a black-throated blue warbler form what looks like a small handkerchief. This is an especially important field mark on the female, who is not blue and does not have a black throat. The handkerchief can be partially or completely hidden depending on the position of the wings. The blackpoll warbler's wing feathers have yellow edges. How long is the tail? Does it look short, as on a northern parula? Or is the tail long, as on a prairie warbler? Does the tail have markings, such as on a magnolia warbler or an American redstart? The feathers on the back end of the bottom part of a bird's body are called the undertail coverts. This palm warbler has bright yellow undertail coverts. The color of the undertail coverts can provide important identification clues for similar-looking species, such as the yellowish undertail coverts on the orange-crowned warbler on the left and the whitish undertail coverts of the Tennessee warbler on the right. The black and white warbler has black markings on its white undertail coverts. The tail extends over the undertail coverts. The underside of the tail might be important if you're looking at a bird high in the trees. The underside of a Nashville warbler's tail is a uniform grayish color, while the underside of a prothonotary warbler's tail is white with dark edges. Warbler legs are often difficult to see, but it is surprising how often you can see the long yellow legs of a blackpoll warbler, or the long bubblegum pink legs of a Louisiana water thrush. Many birders in the spring find warblers mostly by listening rather than looking for them in leafy trees. Because of global heating, trees in the east are leafing out earlier than in previous years, which means that warblers will be more difficult to locate. You can learn information about the elevation to look for warblers from the type of song they sing. Hooded warblers tend to stay relatively low. Their songs are low-pitched and loud, so they can carry near the forest floor. The song sounds like a weed-a-weedio or a ran-a-video. Like the songs of most warbler species, it can have many variations. Species who tend to stay high up in trees have higher pitched and quieter songs because sound carries much better from the treetops. Here are the soft notes of a Cape May warbler. The song of the worm-eating warbler is an insect-like trill. The prairie warbler's song goes up the musical scale. One of the songs of the northern parula goes up the scale and then drops over the top. Another of the songs is slower and buzzier. Many warblers move around while they sing, but species such as Kentucky warblers tend to perch in one place and turn their head while singing their loud song. This means that if you find one singing, you usually can watch it for a long time. Note how warblers behave. Are they strutting on the ground like an ovenbird? Are they continually bobbing their tail like a palm warbler? Habitat can provide an important identification clue. Prothonotary warblers prefer swampy areas. American redstarts prefer moist, deciduous, second-growth woodlands. Pine warblers prefer conifers, but they can often be seen in other types of trees. You should be careful not to put too much emphasis on bird names. Prairies are not a likely habitat for finding prairie warblers. Magnolia warblers have no special connection to magnolia trees. They are so named because Alexander Wilson shot one in a magnolia tree. Worm-eating warblers do not eat worms. Some species with places in their names, such as Connecticut, Kentucky, Cape May, and Nashville warblers, got their names because the first specimen was collected there, rather than because these warblers have any special connection to the places. Don't make assumptions about how a warbler looks based on its name. The crown on an orange-crowned warbler usually is not visible. The yellow-rumped warbler has a yellow rump, but so do the palm, magnolia, and Cape May warblers. Many warblers are named for what the male looks like rather than the female. The female black-throated green warbler does not have a black throat. It can be important to know what warblers eat. Species such as Cape May, Tennessee, and bay-breasted warblers eat spruce budworms on their breeding grounds. If a lot of spruce budworms were available on their breeding grounds, you might expect a greater number of these birds to migrate through in the following spring. Worm-eating warblers are the only warbler species who regularly looks for food in clusters of dead leaves. The yellow-rumped warbler is the only warbler species who can digest wax myrtle berries, which is why you can see them in cold climates during the winter after most other warblers have passed through. Pine warblers are one of the few species who regularly visits bird feeders, so they are another species likely to be seen in cold weather when other warblers have left. The date when you see a warbler during the spring migration is often important. Black and white warblers are the only eastern warbler species who feeds mostly by foraging on tree trunks, so they are not dependent on leaves being out. Species who pick arthropods off of leaves typically arrive later. Knowing the range of a warbler's population is important. Many palm warblers winter in the southern United States, so they often are seen when migrating north earlier than species who winter in Central or South America and must fly a much longer distance. The blackpoll warbler has a very long migration from South America. Some arrive in late April, but the bulk of them come through toward the latter part of the spring migration. When you begin to see mostly blackpoll warblers, you know that the spring migration is coming to an end. While the list of questions examined in this video might seem long and overwhelming, it is by no means all-inclusive. There is much more information to learn about individual warbler species. But if you focus on these basic questions while spending a lot of time in the field observing the plumage, behavior, and vocalizations of warblers, you are likely to find that identifying spring warblers will become a lot easier and more satisfying.